I was driving to work this morning, I was listening to another radio station, as we broadcasters sometimes do. What I heard shocked and saddened me.
The Entertainment Roundtable.
They're here, nerds.
Wait, is this the group that goes around mutilating squirrels?
You just mind your P's and Q's, Buster, and remember who you're dealing with.
Well, at least we found them.
Fortuitous, Captain. And now that we have them all together,
you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs.
The Entertainment Roundtable.
They make one person go, blah, 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 and the other person go, what are you talking about? And then one person goes, blah, 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 blah.
Have you ever heard the phrase feast or famine? Well, as we get in here to our Labor Day weekend, and by the way, whatever it is that you got planned, please enjoy it and have a very safe and happy Labor Day weekend. Last week here on the Entertainment Roundtable, we had everybody. It was me and Jeff and Ryan and Josh and Jacob and David.
Oh, yeah.
This weekend, it is me and Jeff and Ryan.
We're right back to the way the show actually started.
It
way
is.
Back in the day.
Yep, this is the way that it actually began when we were doing the old nighttime show between 7 and 9 p.m. So back to the bare bones, but the initial one is usually the best.
Right.
We get to have a whole lot of fun here.
It's a triumvirate of terror.
In a lot of ways, you're right. We got plenty of reviews here, but first things first, we got to say hello. Hello to Ryan. You had the chance to not just check out one, but you actually got 3 movies in over the past week.
Yes, I did.
All right. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you've gone to see, and then we'll catch up with exactly what you're going to give them review-wise in a minute.
I've seen Sin City: A Game to Kill For, When the Game Stands Tall, and the new horror thriller As Above, So Below.
All right. I will have a review coming up of the Pierce Brosnan film The November Man here in just a little bit as well, and all kinds of course, movie news and television news that you expect from the Entertainment Roundtable. And if you are, by the way, wanting a little bit of an update throughout the course of the day, each and every day, don't forget to check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Entertainment Roundtable. We'll be more than happy to have you like the page and check out all the news there.
Oh, I did see one movie this week.
Yes?
I finally got around to seeing Noah.
Okay. All right. Since you bring that up, let's go ahead and go down that road because that's old, and let's kind of get an idea of what you thought of it because this, let me see, worst film of the year for me so far, keeping in mind we still got, it's hard to believe Mondays gets us into September already, but with 4 months to go, I have to say that Noah ranks as my second worst film of the year so far.
I just don't get it. I thought it was great.
Okay, what'd you like? Full review.
I like the fact that they used that story to sort of look at some themes as far as themes like how sometimes blind faith without any sort of temper of love and mercy and your own personal morals and ethics can quite oftentimes be a negative.
Okay.
The fact that Noah, was following what God told him to do, but then he continued to extrapolate and basically bring these other sort of stranger, more warped ideas as the film went on, as far as God's plans for the human race, even though that exactly wasn't what God told him to do. So it illustrated the fact that it was sometimes if we're made in God's image, that means sometimes guess what, we do know the right thing to do.
Okay. My biggest problem with it was the fact that it took so much literary license with the story that we have read so many times, or hopefully you've read so many times in the Bible, and it just irked me to death. It was a pretty film.
I mean, I can understand that, but I enjoyed it for the fact that I thought it was, it's great because it's sort of like any adaptation. The story's always going to be there. He took that story and said something, something sort of new with it.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting.
If you had watched this in the movie theater, what would you have rated it?
Oh, a solid 8.
Yeah?
I really dug it a lot.
Okay. Oh. Wow.
Yeah. I really like the Watchers. Those were
two
cool.
opposite ends of the spectrum right there for us. And hey, you're entitled to the opinion, so I've got no problem with it. All right, let's go into the top 10 here, and it was funny. Going down, getting ready to watch the movie November Man, got to talking with the guy who's, the gatekeeper, so to speak. He's the ticket taker always, and got to know quite a few of them down there, our friends at Amstar. And we get to talking about it, and he's like, okay, you're going to be going down to this theater over here. And he said, he asked me if I'd seen Sin City, and I said no. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. And I said, what was the last movie you saw? He said, yeah, I went and saw the new Twister film into the storm. And I went, oh, you went and saw Twister Part 2? And he went, yep. And he didn't even bat an eyelash. He was like, yep, saw it. I mean, that's effectively what now everyone's going to start calling it, I think. It's Twister Part 2, and it's not doing well.
Right. I mean, there's no sharks in there, so.
No, 3.8 million, 38.3 overall. Up to number 9, The 100-Foot Journey, the art house film, still doing quite well, 5.3 million, 32.5. Up to number 8, not really a great debut. Now, I don't know. I vaguely remember because we're talking 9 years ago when the original Sin City came out in movie theaters. I can't remember what it debuted to, but I want to say it was higher than the $6.3 million that what we're looking at for SimCity: A Dame to Kill For.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely a big-time flopola.
And this was a movie that we were all initially very amped up to go see, and then we all kind of started to cool off a little bit. You, Jeff, started to cool off. Why?
Because I saw all these reviews from these guys that I've got like this group of reviewers that over my years reading them, I've picked out 4 or 5 that 90% of the time our tastes pretty much align.
Yeah, and
I can get a good idea.
They were not going for this.
Right. You know, and it can vary if they get in the middle ground where if they say this one's pretty good, but it's not great, you know, that can go, there's some leeway there. But when they all collectively jump on a film with both feet and just beat it down, you know that there's a real issue there. So.
Okay, so collectively using our rating scale, all of the people that you kind of trust and your taste kind of
3
jive,
to 4s maybe,
they're
I
going
guess.
below a 5.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, you've seen it. Do you agree? Lower than a 5?
I actually disagree. I did remember seeing the first one. Now, granted, it has been a long time, mind you, with the 9-year gap and with all that stuff. But anyway, Sin City: Dame to Kill For, I really enjoyed it. I really did. I liked the action. I liked the story. I mean, granted, there were a few of the short stories that could have had a somewhat better of an ending. In the very end of the film, I thought it could have been tweaked a little bit. But other than that, it was solid, electrifying, action-packed, thrilled entertainment. So I gave it a 8 out of 10. This is actually one of my more favorite films of the summer.
Interesting. At some point in time, I'll probably go check it out. I just haven't had the opportunity to do so yet. Another film that I would like to go check out at some point in time is The Giver, just because the idea of it intrigues me, but apparently it's not really gaining a whole lot of attention by the American public. $23.8 million sitting at number 7. Number 6, The Expendables Part 3 is losing steam quickly, $27.4 million overall. That brings us into the top 5, and we get based upon the true life story of a high school out in California by the name of De La Salle. They had the longest, at one point in time, winning streak of any high school football program ever in the history of high school football programs. I believe 151 games. The movie is called When the Game Stands Tall. Ryan, you have had the chance to see it. What did you think?
Yes, as far as this sports film goes, based on a true story, I love films that are based on a true story, but then again, this one was okay. It wasn't great. It didn't bring too many new things to the table other than the story that it was based off of originally, and it had a lot of formulaic stuff, a lot of sports cliches we've seen time and time and time again. And Jim Caviezel, like, as much as I love the guy, because, I mean, let's not forget, Passion of the Christ, and he's also on TV every week as Reese on Person of Interest. Mm-hmm. But I felt like he kind of phoned this one in. He basically acted like Jim Caviezel. He didn't really take on the role of Bob Latiker, the head coach of this particular team. I mean, I'm not sure if that's his real demeanor in real life. I don't know what. But probably give it a 6 out of 10 because I did like the story. There were a few moments that I thought were good, but it just wasn't as great as it could have been. Like, the idea may have looked good on paper, but the execution was somewhat poorly done.
All right, 6 out of 10 there brings us up to the number 4. And from 4 to 1, everybody made at least $10 million. Let's Be Cops, $10.8 million, so 45.1 there. If I Stay, $15.7 million, debuting there, and this one has gotten some good press here. Chick flick kind of area.
Yeah, I think so. And the one with Chloe Moretz.
Yeah, date movie kind of thing. And up to number 2, and 2 and 1 after the past 2 weeks have flip-flop places. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles drops out of the number 1 spot to number 2, $16.7 million. Don't cry for them, $145.5. Not exactly hurting there, but they abdicated the number 1 position and gave it back after 2 weeks to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Boom.
$17.2 million, $251.5. Correct me if I'm wrong, either one of you. 251.5 actually gives Guardians of the Galaxy a bigger box office than Captain America: The Winter Soldier?
I believe it does. It's actually ranked as the highest grossing movie of the entire summer domestically, but in my opinion, it's not just about money, it's about quality. So for me, Not really happy with these numbers. To me, X-Men is still the top dog in my yard.
Okay. Jacob, who is missing, did give me the latest rundown for the Summer Movie League. Let's see, I had Captain America. Okay, Captain America is actually now out of theaters, stopped at $259.7 million.
Yeah, Guardians is good.
Guardians,
It'll pass it, if it hasn't yet.
Who has Guardians of the Galaxy? That's Jacob, isn't it?
I think so.
Okay, according to his numbers, and I would assume that these are updated as of either last night or this morning, 256.7. So this weekend, Guardians of the Galaxy will pass Captain America.
And when I saw this last weekend, I tried to think of the last time I saw something that was, number one, its debut week. Then dropped to number two, but then came back and was number one, in the fourth week.
Yeah. Being out multiple weeks and then going back, I can't remember that. I have seen it where we have seen it'll drop out for a week and then come back up, but never stay out of it for 2 or more weeks and then come back up.
Right, and it was never really that far behind Turtles. It was at 5,
No,
6
it really
million.
wasn't. Yeah, and here's the thing. What Guardians of the Galaxy is doing is, yes, it's losing box office every week, which you would expect, but it's not losing as much percentage-wise as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is. So there you go. All right, coming out this week into movie theaters, the one that we didn't review, it's called The Congress, stars Robin Wright, Harvey Keitel, and John Hamm. It's about an aging out-of-work actress who ends up taking a job, but there are consequences to accepting the job that she could not have imagined. I've seen a trailer to it. It just seems weird. Sometimes I like weird, but this is a weird that I can't grasp it. I'm not really sure I understand it. And maybe it's the trailer, maybe it's me, maybe it's the plot, but it didn't really look all that good. Since you have done 2 reviews already, I'm going to give you a rest here, Ryan, and I'm going to talk about The November Man first. Pierce Brosnan, Olga Kurylenko, and Bill Smitrovich, about an ex-CIA operative brought back on a very personal mission, turns out to be against a former trainee. Went and watched the film last night, and I don't know where to go with this, really, to be honest with you. I wanted to like this film. Pierce Brosnan is, for the most part, a very likable guy. I thought he did a very good turn as James Bond, at least in GoldenEye, and things kind of took a downturn from there, got a little bit too campy and a little too silly. He's trying to get back that serious James Bond look to him, throw in a little bit of Jason Bourne in there and trying to make it a little bit stylish, the know-all, ready-for-everything and anything kind of a guy, but Pierce Brosnan seems to be almost sleepwalking through this. He's listed as the executive producer, so I don't know whether he's splitting his attention, whatever it was, but it just didn't come off that well. It's a slick film. It looks good. The idea of it is nice, but when they took it from the book that it's based upon and made it into this film, whenever they edited things out, they left certain things sitting, and you're kind of going, okay, why'd you do that? Why would you do that? What's the purpose here? Why did you show that? It's disjointed. It doesn't really, as you're going through, you're just left kind of slack-jawed, kind of trying to figure out exactly why it is that they're doing exactly what they're doing. But in the end, it's so predictable. You can see the plot twists coming, unfortunately, and that's the sad part about it. It could have been a much better film as it was. It just kind of laid there. And for a film that we started at 7:15. And, of course, you start at 7:15, you got previews and things like that, and then you go through the credits. We walked out the door at 9:15. 2 hours, so you figure give or take 15 minutes or so of previews and stuff to lead into the film. That's a fairly short movie. It felt longer, and that's not a good thing. My neighbor, who went with me, bashed it and wanted to give it initially like a 3.5. He came up to about a 4 just because it looked good. I'm going to settle on a 4.5. It's okay, but it could have been so much better. Your money is better spent elsewhere, I think, this weekend. And that brings us to As Above, So Below. What'd you think, Ryan?
Yes, I saw this movie the other night. Took a friend of mine with me, and we actually enjoyed it. Now, granted, it's shot with shaky cam. It is found footage, and that genre has been overplayed time and time again. We're so sick and tired of it, but for the story they were trying to tell, it worked. for the most part. There were times where I'm like, okay, stop shaking the camera, you're giving me a headache, but it worked. It just worked. Very terrifying. There were twists around every single turn in this movie. They used a little bit of world history as part of the basis of the story, and I really like when they incorporate that instead of just saying, oh, yeah, we're looking for ghosts. We got nothing better to do with our time. No. You need an actual story behind it, Jack. This one worked. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. This is the scariest film I've seen since The Conjuring.
Okay. For those of you that don't know, not a whole lot of names in this as far as starring Perdita Weeks, Ben Feldman, a couple of names there. Explorers that go into the streets of Paris and unwittingly discover a dark secret affecting them all. So there we go. 8 out of 10. Higher than what I figured you would have given it. Out in limited release, if you're interested and can find them, you can check out a movie called The Notebook, and I'm not talking about the sappy romantic one from a couple of years ago. This one actually comes over to us from Hungary. You've got something called Kantenflas, Last Weekend. There's also a film called Starred Up and a film called Life of Crime, which I found out this is a 2013 film as well. Stars Jennifer Aniston, Mos Def, and Will Forte. It's just something that ended up on the shelves for a little while until they figured, you know what, we ought to put this thing out in the theaters. You'd think with a Jennifer Aniston name, especially because of We're the Millers, which was a big comedy hit last year, they would have tried to have gotten that out in theaters. That doesn't necessarily bode well for the film, if you ask me.
No, it doesn't really sound too good.
Not at all. And one more thing, out in theaters next week, a film called The Identical. You have the re-release, 20-year anniversary, of the movie Forrest Gump, and a movie called Frontera. So not a whole lot there. Anything? Anybody want to go see any of that? I mean, I kind of want to go see Forrest Gump on the big screen again, but if I miss it, I miss it. It's not that big of a deal. Anything?
Nothing really catches my eye.
Yeah, Ryan, anything?
I'm going to try to catch Forrest Gump next weekend because I don't believe I ever saw it back when it was in theaters in '94. So it'd be nice to see it especially in IMAX. I mean, IMAX is the best way to watch any kind of film.
Well, let's face it, you are the young buck of the crowd, so it doesn't surprise me if you didn't have the chance to check it out 20 years ago. I do remember it, and I remember raving about it. It was that movie and Pulp Fiction for 1994 that were among the tops for me.
That was a great year, wasn't it?
It was. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about Tom Hanks and Ron Howard teaming up. This will be for a third time. Is it for the same thing? You'll find out next.
Hope you got your popcorn, because we're back to the Entertainment Roundtable on Superstation 101.
I'd throw it out there to find out what this was all about, or what movie this was in. Seems like a very odd choice, but when I saw this on the soundtrack to the movie As Above, So Below, I'm like, okay, I gotta play that. How does this fit into the movie? Do you remember this in the movie, Ryan?
I think it was in the beginning of the film, if not the middle of it.
What, in regards to what? I mean, how could they possibly put this into the film?
I think it was when they were in the catacombs of Paris. I think it was playing down there.
Oh, okay. Wow, weird.
It's, like I said, it's a crazy, zany horror thriller, but it's a good one.
All right. Ryan, let's start with you when it comes to our movie news here, and teased it going into it. Next line of films directed by Ron Howard. He's going back and tabbing Tom Hanks to star, and these two have worked together twice before in the series of Dan Brown books, Angels and Demons, and, the other one, the first one just right out of my head.
The Da Vinci Code.
The Da Vinci Code, thank you very much. This next one is being called Inferno. Correct me if I'm wrong. Another Dan Brown book made into a movie?
Yes, sir. It will be Ron Howard and Tom Hanks taking on the role of Robert Langdon. This will be the third film in the series. They're going to kick off filming in April of 2015.
I saw Da Vinci Code. I was left wanting. I've seen bits and pieces of Angels and Demons, and it has not made me want to really check out the entirety of the film. Has this kind of played?
I mean, I guess in some regard, yeah. I mean, Angels and Demons wasn't their best effort. To me, Da Vinci Code is still the better of the two films, so, yeah.
Chance maybe they could rebound?
You never know. Anything is possible. I mean, look what they did with Ninja Turtles. Everyone thought that was going to be a mess of a film, and look what it turned out to be. A pretty darn good one.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Wasn't horrible. Wasn't great.
I hope they keep the same horrible Hanks hair. I mean, it's a tradition at this point.
Yeah, well, at that point in time, it's become a joke, and it's become a pretty funny one, actually.
Terrible.
Jeff, over to you. Got a film coming out next month entitled Maze Runner, and we all know about 3D and IMAX. Just talked about that a little bit ago. Some theaters showing the film going to be trying a new version of something called Cinerama. This is something that we've had in the past. Obviously, it's not going to be that big, is it?
Oh, it's going to be large.
Yeah? All right, tell me about it.
Yeah, apparently it's called Escape, in which 2 additional screens are positioned on either side of a primary cinema screen to create a panoramic image.
Okay.
Basically, the first auditoriums are being finished right now, and The Maze Runner will be the first film to take advantage of them starting September 19th. Back when Cinerama was done, there were some issues because, this was back, they were still using film, and they had to make sure the screens were positioned to these exact measurements. Otherwise, parts of the screen would be sort of fuzzy and muddy. But with digital projection and filming, it's going to be a lot easier. So it's just giving the screen some extra width. I'm not sure if it's depth as well, like if the 2 sides sort of come out a little bit to sort of surround.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know.
But yeah,
because I know that like Cinescape and the original Cinerama, they kind of tried to surround you a little bit. So if you're sitting in a couple of the front 2 rows, man, you felt like you were dwarfed. Right. At least from what I was told. I don't know of many theaters that are making this transition, though.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be an expensive transition to make.
Yeah.
And maybe they're waiting to see how this one performs on these theaters. The Maze Runner?
Yeah.
Because
I imagine there'll be an extra charge to it, kind of like a 3D or an IMAX.
Right.
Okay.
If this thing blows up, it'll probably have the Avatar effect where people will
Gotcha. All right, Jeff, Kevin Costner, we saw him earlier this year in both Draft Day and 3 Days to Kill. Or maybe you didn't, judging by my draft standings when it comes to Draft Day. We were supposed to have a third film from him this year, but the studio decided to back it up and out of this year. Do you know why and what the film was?
Yeah, it was a film called, it was going to be in Thanksgiving. It was called McFarland, but they've lengthened the title to McFarland USA. But they're moving it out of that weekend because of the juggernaut that is The Hunger Games.
Aha.
Yes.
I think that makes a whole lot of sense.
They're moving it to February 20th, 2015.
In fact, there's a part of me that would say that just about every studio would say, wait a minute, Hunger Games? No, we're moving everything out of there.
Yeah, apparently it's about a high school track and field coach named Jim Blanco White and his wife who nurtured a bunch of poor immigrant kids with short legs and turned them into running champions. Yeah, good move.
So we got another sports film coming out this year that may not necessarily go all that well.
Yeah, I think after the not so great success of his last movie. Yeah. And what was the one where he was the spy with his daughter?
3 Days to Kill. 3 Days to Kill was actually an underrated film. It was not a bad movie. It wasn't great.
It still didn't make a whole. I mean, he did.
But it didn't make a whole lot of movie. No, it didn't make a whole lot of money. No.
It was smart to get out of Katniss's way.
I think you're right. Ryan, more proof Hollywood has no new ideas. They got plans to reboot a franchise of a movie series where the first film was released a grand total of 11 years ago. The latest was subtitled Awakening. It came out in 2012. Tell me more about plans to reboot a series that at one point in time starred Kate Beckinsale. I'm assuming she's not coming back?
Well, they're not sure what they're going to do as of yet. They've hired pre-scribe Corey Goodman to pen the screenplay for the Underworld reboot. Gary Lucchese and Tom Rosenberg are going to produce the new film for Lakeshore Entertainment, although it's not clear if this is going to be straight-up reboot or a pseudo-sequel prequel kind of deal, or if they're going to bring Kate Beckinsale and Scott Speedman back from the original franchise. But like I said before, terrible idea. Just give us the sequel to Underworld Awakening, because Underworld Awakening was so good, in my opinion, and they left the door wide open to bring Scott Speedman back because he kind of went missing. So I want to find him and bring him back, Jack.
Now, is he back off of that island that he tried to deal with, 2 years ago on ABC, and that failed?
I don't think Scott Speedman was on Lost.
Not Lost. It was the one about the ship that ended up going into that island because they were afraid that somebody had blamed them for firing missiles upon China, I think it was.
Oh, Last Resort.
Last Resort, yeah. Which started off okay and went right down the tubes. Speaking of reboots, Jeff, National Lampoon's Vacation? Seriously?
Oh, yeah, it looks like this one is getting closer and closer toward production.
No, this has got to be a really bad joke. Come on.
No, it looks like it's going to have Ed Helms as playing Rusty, all grown up now. Christina Applegate will be his wife. Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, they're saying, are going to make cameos.
Okay, so this is National Lampoon The Next Generation.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay, all right. That's at least we're continuing it and not doing a reboot. So, okay. And what I had initially heard apparently was wrong.
Yeah, it looks like the Horrible Bosses duo of John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein will be directing this film.
Okay, so who's going to take over as Rusty?
That would be Ed Helms.
Ed Helms.
And it looks like
what has he been in?
He was in
The Hangover.
The Hangover. Yes, got the tattoo on his face.
Gotcha. Okay.
There you go.
Got it.
And they just looks like they've added a couple of other interesting roles. Chris Hemsworth is going to play Stone Crandall, sort of an up-and-coming news anchor who is married to Rusty's sister.
So Thor is there.
And Charlie Day.
Really?
He'll probably do a little cameo, they say, sort of like John Candy at the end of the first Vacation. Right. So that's kind of about it.
Okay. Interesting.
Man, it's got a pretty decent cast. We'll see if the script's good. I don't see what the problem will be.
Okay, so this is just they've linked people to it. They are working on a script. They have no idea as to whether they're even going to start shooting, much less whether they have a date to start shooting.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So I just
yes,
closed
go
it.
with that.
It's like I gave all the information I had. He closed the tab, and I had to ask another question.
Gotcha, Jeff. When I think of King Arthur, certain actors come to mind, and I did like him in Pacific Rim. I got to admit this, but I got to say, King Arthur, Charlie Hunnam, not really the first name that would have come to my mind here, but apparently he's going to be playing that legendary leader, and this is going to be in a series.
Looks that way, and it seems like Guy Ritchie has a penchant for hiring Americans to play Brits. Given our,
one would think that you could get a Brit to play a Brit.
Right. Apparently this is going to be a Warner Brothers film. They wanted to start as a series, but Charlie Hunnam is Guy Ritchie's guy.
Charlie Hunnam.
Yep.
But it's interesting that you bring that up because one of my favorite commercials, and I'm not big into commercials, I tend to skip over them. DVR is a wonderful thing. But one of my favorite commercials here over the past few months has been a Jaguar ad. Or as they say in Britain, Jaguar.
Oh, the one with all
the one with Loki himself, Tom Hiddleston, and you got Ben Kingsley in it.
The Mandarin.
Yeah, and they're all just sitting there talking about how all the Brits are always tabbed as bad people.
Yes.
And then the tagline is, "It's good to be bad."
Oh, it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've all been superhero bad guys. You have Sinestro.
But here's the thing. Again, with all these great British actors out there, you're gonna get Charlie Hunnam to play King Arthur.
Oh, sure, why not? Since Elizabeth Olsen is apparently the front runner for the female lead. Hey, good news.
Wow.
They want Idris Elba to play the Merlin type character.
Please.
It doesn't say Merlin.
Please.
It says Merlin-esque. So
something.
Will cancel his training and his casting of this role.
Oh my
I'm outraged.
Wow. God, that's just weird. It seems like every week we keep talking about this movie about the rap group NWA. Jeff, even more word on this one. They got a Snoop Dogg who's going to be toking it up for this role.
Let's see here. Keith Stanfield, I do believe. He's a 23-year-old actor and rapper. He was in Short Term 12. I don't know what that is, but apparently it was a very moving performance.
Okay.
He's been tapped to play Snoop Dogg.
I wonder if he's actually going to go to Snoop and say, "Hey, listen, can you give me any tips?"
Smoke a lot of weed, man.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, musical biopics, they seem to be hot right now, and no less than Martin Scorsese is jumping. Scorsese, it's easy for me to say. Martin Scorsese, I'll get it correct here in a minute, is going to be jumping on that. So he's working up a musical biopic with what artist?
Looks like Marty likes the Ramones.
Martin Scorsese likes the Ramones.
It appears that way because
my opinion of Martin Scorsese has just gone up even that much further.
He joins the ranks of Stephen King, who are obviously big Ramones fans.
I can figure why Stephen King wouldn't be involved in a Ramones biopic.
Yep. Let's see here. But I think this may be a documentary more than...
Oh, even better.
Right. So, he's done one before. He did the Last Waltz, the big concert film.
Which, if you've never seen that, it's actually fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Great concert footage.
So apparently it looks like for the 4th anniversary, they're looking to do a documentary. They've said they've got a ton of footage, and they're going to see if Martin Scorsese can't do something to get it together.
I like it. Ryan, we mentioned that this week, 1 week only, or next week, I should say, for 1 week only, Forrest Gump coming back into theaters 20 years after it came out in 1994. Ryan, we're 10 years past another film, this one a horror film, so fans can check it out on the big screen again. Which film is it that we're talking about that's now 10 years old?
We're talking about this Halloween. Lionsgate is going to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the first film of the Saw franchise. It's going to open up in theaters on Friday, October the 31st, just in time for Halloween, with special showings kicking off on Thursday night, October the 30th.
I never watched Saw. Anybody?
I made the mistake of watching the first Saw, and I couldn't sleep for days.
I watched the first
So it scared
three.
you. It scared you, but it did the job.
Oh,
right?
it did its job all right.
Okay, so, but does that necessarily mean that it was a good film or not a good film?
No, I'm never watching it again.
Okay, well, that may not necessarily be the worst thing in the world when you're talking about a horror
Yeah,
film.
I saw the first three. They weren't terrible.
Yeah?
I mean, they're not. They are, middle of the road horror films, I guess.
Worth having a re-release a decade after it came out in theaters?
Well, they made bajillions of dollars. The franchise did, so it's
throw it out there and let people experience the first one all
there
over
you
again. All right.
It actually holds the Guinness Book of World Records for most successful horror franchise of all time.
How many films in the Saw franchise have been made?
Like 80 in 10 years. I think they did one monthly for a while there.
Yeah.
There was actually 7 films, and they made over $874 million.
There were 7 films in that? Holy cow. All right, let's move on to something else here. Hey, I guess we've waited long enough. Let's talk about our superhero section here. 2 items regarding the Avengers and Hawkeye specifically, Jeff. And first off, are we getting a new look for Hawkeye next year?
Yeah, it looks like they've updated Hawkeye's costume for the Avengers Part 2, Age of Ultron. It's going more of almost closer to his comic book look, where he has these, it sort of hangs down in the middle. It's almost like a loincloth type look, but it's more of the costume for the movie, it looks more sort of like a duster coat as well. So it's a cross between his comic book costume and, say, a gunfighter.
So they're going to give him a little bit of the Nick Fury look, too.
It looks kind of cool, yeah. It's the darker purple.
Yeah.
So, Nick's always in the black, but it's kind of a neat little update for his costume.
Okay. Captain America 2 came out earlier this year. We got to see a little bit more Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow. We haven't really seen a whole lot. I mean, yeah, he had a bit piece and it just went right out of my head. Iron Man 3, I think it was.
Iron Man 2, Jeremy Renner?
2, yeah. Otherwise, other than Avengers, really hasn't been involved here. Word is maybe he might get some time, kind of like Black Widow Cap 3.
Yeah, he's been playing coy like people in the Marvel films usually do. Just sort of drop hints that you might see a little bit of Hawkeye in Captain America 3. And that's about all that's out there right now. Is that he just sort of...
Man, they just love to tease us, right?
Right, yeah.
Speaking of the Captain America franchise, the director and Chris Evans, we talked about this. He's kind of saying, you know what, it's about time. I'm kind of done. I want to do some things behind the camera. And now we've got the director actually saying that he has at least kind of an idea of the ending of Chris Evans portraying the role. What is he thinking?
Anthony Russo, one of the Russo brothers, who the co-directors of these, he was asked, what fans might expect, and he said, quote, "I can't divulge who's going to be in the film, but I think fans are going to freak out when they hear about it." So he's just dropping little teases. He says, "We wanted to push the character forward into the modern age with the Winter Soldier, and we want to keep pushing the character forward."
Well, we've seen the teases, and the comics have shown both Winter Soldier turning into Captain America, Bucky Barnes. And most recently, they've decided that Falcon is going to step into the role. One would think, well, and they don't necessarily have to, but one would think they'd try and stay somewhere in the neighborhood of the comic books, wouldn't they?
Well, here's the quote I think that has everybody talking. He says, "I will say this. For satisfying storytelling, you want a beginning, middle, and end. That's the natural arc that we all thrive off of in narrative." He said, "The great thing about the Marvel Universe, just like in publishing, it's a very vast interconnected universe where characters will have their rise and fall, so to speak, and hand off to other characters."
All right, so it is going to be a handoff. So
he hasn't said for sure. He's just sort of, like these Marvel guys do.
Oh, yeah. Tease.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ryan, we hadn't talked a whole lot of family fare here recently. We're going to wrap up the segment with a couple of stories, including a reveal of a first image of a new Pixar movie. It's been a little while since we've seen one of them come out. This one entitled Inside Out. They're releasing some details about the movie. Not a whole lot of I've only seen one still image out of this. You may have seen more. What do you know about the film?
Well, they unveiled the first look at Inside Out's main character, whose name is Riley, within whose mind Joy, voiced by Amy Poehler, Sadness, voiced by Phyllis Smith, Anger, Lewis Black, Disgust, Mindy Kaling, and Fear, Bill Hader, battle for control of her mind, I guess. It's going to hit theaters everywhere on June the 19th of 2015.
So a girl wrestling with her emotions, and they give each of the emotions a voice.
Yeah, but at least they got Amy Poehler and Lewis Black right.
Yeah. That actually could work out pretty good. All right. When do they want to try and get this out?
June 19th of 2015.
Okay. Pixar is one of those things, and, they've been up and down, but they've got really good quality stuff out there for the most part, so I'll probably end up checking this one out. I like Pixar for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And one more note here. Warner Brothers, we were thinking about talking about it. Apparently, they're thinking about bringing back some Looney Tunes characters, but not like the Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck kind of guys. It's some of the lesser-known Warner Brothers guys. As soon as we find more details out about that, we'll let you know right here. We got to take our second and final break of the show. When we come back, we'll talk about what's coming out on DVD next Tuesday or Blu-ray, and then we'll switch over to television. It's coming up right here, the Labor Day edition of the Entertainment Roundtable.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, the Entertainment Roundtable on Superstation 101.
Whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paperboy, evening TV.
I got to admit, I never thought I'd be coming back to the theme song to the show Full House.
Is it? Okay. What was it last week? It was another old sitcom, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Because they were talking about coming back with that. Gosh,
Saved by the Bell, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
God, what was it last week? But you're right, it was one of the old shows. Yeah, we'll be talking about Full House. Yep, Full House.
Come on, man, I was a fan.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Oh, that explains so much.
I wasn't, and when we get into the news, I'll tell you why. It's not that it was a necessarily horrible show. Just a couple of elements really.
Not necessarily, just very specifically.
First up, out on Blu-ray or DVD next Tuesday. Not much. 2 films specifically. Only Draft Day, which was one of my wildly underperforming summer movie league draft picks, and the locally filmed and produced movie Mom's Night Out, speaking of underrated films. That comes out next Tuesday. TV series releases continue to get the numbers, and this week you could choose from Season 2 of Chicago Fire, Season 10, and it's hard to believe we're already up to Season 10 of Grey's Anatomy, Season 9 of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Season 3 of New Girl, Season 1 of The Originals. The Originals. I've seen a commercial for this. I can't remember what network it's on. It's one of the cable networks, too. And Season 3 of Person of Interest are all able to be chosen from on Tuesday. Ryan, it's barely out of the top 10, but you've learned when fans of the film Transformers Age of Extinction can take that movie home.
Yes, if you want to bring home one of the worst films of this entire year, it hits Blu-ray and DVD on September the 30th.
I can't argue your assessment of the film, because I remember going through my rankings. That's 1, that's 2. I want to say Transformers comes right in at number 3 on the worst film of the year list.
I would say number 1 for me.
You haven't seen Pompeii, though.
That's true. I have not seen Pompeii.
Yeah, that's
You
why.
did your work well, Steve. Thank you for the warning.
All right, here we go into TV news here, and let's go ahead and do it right here, right now. ABC, and a hit from 20 years ago, I guess, word has them coming back. Ryan, Full House, a reunion. Is this like a special, or are they talking about bringing the series back?
They are talking about bringing the series back for basically a sequel, a redux, a reboot in the works. And they're saying that much of the original cast is set to return, including Candace Cameron, who played DJ Tanner, Jodie Sweetin, who played Stephanie, and also Andrea Barber, who played DJ's best friend Kimmy. Bob Saget and Dave Coulier are also connected to this particular project, among others, but not everyone has signed on just yet. But be sure to hear back with more in the coming weeks.
Okay. All the people that you mentioned, with the slight exception of Kimmy, I got no problem with. Kimmy kind of bugged me. She was just annoying as heck.
That was her job.
I know, and she did it too dang well. It annoyed me to the point of ready to turn it off. John Stamos was fine. Lori Loughlin was fine. It's when you got to the Olsen twins that I went, yep, I gotta go. And no word on whether they're coming back.
I hope, honestly, I hope not, because they're professional and personal lives have taken such a severe turn. I think it's better for them to just try to focus on getting their health and their stamina back up.
I always, even when I was younger and the show was on, wanted to curb stomp Dave Coulier, or whatever his name is. I hated him with a fiery passion.
Dave Coulier?
He had the worst friggin', he was the worst.
That would be Uncle Joey that you're thinking of.
I'm a Hammy Ham Hammerson. I'm making all these terrible, just the writing for him was the worst, and he would just oversell everything. I'm sorry. I know he's an official character, but I wanted to kill him.
Okay, so this is just talk. They haven't confirmed that it is coming back?
Right. They're trying to put all the pieces together, and it's probably going to be a sequel, but nothing's 100% confirmed yet. If they do go through with this, I'm up for it, man. I grew up on the show. This was my time period, my decade. I love it to pieces. So I wouldn't mind seeing the Tanner family more, involved in their lives and see what's going on and what they're doing and how they're doing stuff. I mean, I'd love to see it.
Well, Bob Saget's looking for work after How I Met Your Mother went off the air. So
yes, he is.
There you go. Let's go over to CBS here. Ryan, and you're interested in this. You enjoy the show. It's called The Good Wife. A person familiar to us through a show called Frasier is going to be showing up on this particular show. Who is it, and do we know in what way?
Yes, we do. That would be David Hyde Pierce from Frasier. He's going to have a huge season arc for I believe it's season 6 of The Good Wife. He's going to play the head of a cable news outlet. He's a political talk show host/owner, and he's so fed up with all the bad stuff that's been happening in the windy city of Chicago that he decides to run for office.
Interesting. So political foe, maybe?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. We'll have to see where that goes.
I mean, we haven't seen him in Lord knows how long. So
yeah, it's been a while. Yep, has been a while. Flipping over to cable, not much from the networks here. FX, Jeff, let's go to you. Plans for Zach Galifianakis working with Louis C.K. and some others on a show that, unless I'm wrong, he's planning on also starring in. I mean, this is a guy who's made his name in movies, but he's going to make the jump to television.
Yeah, it looks like FX has ordered the comedy series called Baskets, which was co-created and executive produced by Zach Galifianakis, Louis C.K., and Jonathan Krissel, and stars Galifianakis as a man who leaves his job in the corporate world to pursue his dreams of becoming a respected clown. That sounds riveting.
Yeah. Has this been ordered?
Looks like they're going to have a production of the 10-episode, half-hour show will begin next year with a series scheduled to launch in 2016. So sounds like they're at least going to give them 10.
I don't know. The plot doesn't really thrill me.
I'm sure it's going to be just the blackest of black humor.
I'm sure it will be. I mean, you put Louis C.K. with Galifianakis back together. Good grief.
Probably the type of humor that makes you very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't know. I may or may not check it out. A show that I like, and Ryan, a show that you really, really like. So a couple of fans here. A&E. They have what I thought was a big hit in their show Longmire, but the network is feeling a little differently when it comes to Longmire. What's the deal?
Yes, after 3 successful and mega hit seasons, they have decided to cancel Longmire from A&E, but the people who put together the show are shopping it around to different networks. So hopefully Longmire will find a new home, but they did this because they want to focus on more of original programming for the network in particular with their new studio they're opening up. And number 2, they said that the ratings for Season 3 went down with a leak lead-in, which was Criminal Mind reruns on A&E, which is just pathetic because first you cancel The Glades, which was your first mistake, but when you cancel an even better scripted drama known as Longmire, yeah, you're looking for pain, pal.
Okay, so A&E is canceling shows that their own studio is not producing, despite the fact that they've both, you mentioned The Glades, despite the fact that they both actually had good followings and good viewership.
Yes.
Because I saw the numbers on this, and yeah, they're right. The numbers, viewership weekly, did drop down from, I think it was, 6.5 to about 4.9 million, if I remember the numbers correctly. But
around 4.6, I believe.
That's what you get with cable, and when you throw in a week lead-in, you should expect something like that. I enjoyed the show. I thought the quality was just kind of remained throughout the course of the years. There was, some of the storylines you just kind of went, I'm about ready to be done with this, but I understand why they were doing it, and they kept the quality up, so I would really hope that somebody has a brain and they picks this show back up.
I hope the same thing, and if Fox is smart, they'll give us Season 10 of 24.
Yeah, well, we got to wait on that, too. They keep talking about that back and forth. Have we ever talked anything on this show about the network Discovery?
Not really, unless it's Shark Week.
I don't even know if we've mentioned Shark Week.
That's because I don't care for Shark Week.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone back and just kind of racked my brain thinking about all the times, even back to when you and I were on Saturday afternoons in that little 1-hour show that I was doing way back when, Ryan. I don't think we've ever mentioned the network Discovery on this show.
I know we've mentioned History plenty of times, but that's because they produce better programming.
Right. Well, Discovery Network has one show out there that I do kind of like, and I don't watch it religiously. I'm not like, setting it on the DVR or anything, but I kind of like to watch the show Mythbusters, and it's a lot of fun. It takes a whole lot of, movie and television stuff that we see, and they check it out and see if it could actually happen. Or, we hear about these urban legends about, one of the ones that I remember was if you tailgate an 18-wheeler, can you actually save gas? And they did the study on it to, even going how close up to the 18-wheeler you could possibly go. And you've got the initial hosts, your two main hosts, and then you had three other guys who would tend to just basically blow up a whole lot of stuff. Those three other guys are leaving. Now, is this willingly? Do you know? Or is this something that they're being forced out? Because I see Jeff over there. He's got the story up on the internet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that information in front of me.
I want to say that they were kind of told, hey, go ahead and head on out. We're kind of taking the show in a little bit different direction.
We're going to reboot it.
That's what it looks like to me. They're just sort of, shaking up the show a little bit.
Yeah.
And those three, which is a shame because the only reason I ever really watched it was for Carrie.
Carrie and the fact that they like to blow things up all the time?
Carrie.
Yeah. I gotcha.
Watch, she's precious.
I know.
Precious.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about a girl who just had this fantastic attitude about doing whatever it was. Hey, we're going to blow this up. Okay.
Good.
Hey, we're going to put you in a plaster cast. Okay. If you were a fan of a very creepy movie from about 40 years ago called The Omen, they're actually going to make a TV show out of this. What network is actually going to touch this?
I'll give you three guesses. Not Discovery.
It's not Sci-Fi.
Nope.
What?
Lifetime.
Yes.
Okay.
Lifetime is they're straight to series pickup of Damien. So basically, this is going to be a drama about your little Antichrist as he grows up.
Okay. Ryan, earlier on, we talked about a couple of films. Saw, As Above,
Right,
So
yeah.
Below. You said they freaked you out.
Oh, they did, yeah.
I've never been freaked out by a slasher film. Okay? I've been on record as saying when I worked in a video store it's 2014, so about almost going on 20 years ago now, that I was brought in as an employee and we were actually to set the store up before we officially opened for business. And somehow I ended up in the horror section, taking all the horror movies out of the big boxes and putting them up on the shelves for presentation. And I came across Friday the 13th, and I went and asked the manager of the store, can I seriously, I want to put this in the comedy section, can I? Because I thought that little of it. The Omen, on the other hand, is one of two films in the thriller horror genre that I can honestly tell you freaked me out.
Yeah, it looks like another interesting bit of information is that Glenn Mazzar, who was the showrunner for Walking Dead for a minute, will be doing this, and it's only been picked up for 6 episodes right now. But it's like it's going to be sort of like Bates Motel.
Okay.
It's Damien as he's growing older, and he's grappling with his role. What is his life going? Is he going to be the Antichrist? They're going to present him as a dark, tormented anti-hero.
Didn't we see him as an older guy? Didn't they come back and
Sam Neill played him in the final conflict,
running for political office?
Yep.
Wonder if they're going to stay within that pantheon.
Well, if he's the Antichrist, he's got to rise to power somehow. He's
Yeah.
not going to do it at Burger King.
I never saw the original Omen. I saw the remake with Julia Stiles and Liev Schreiber.
Man, what?
Yeah.
Gregory Peck, man.
No, got to go back and watch the original. The original's much better. I like Liev Schreiber, but sorry, no.
Damien, this is for you.
I get the funny feeling I will not be checking this show out. Jeff, we don't talk Disney XD a whole lot, but they got a popular show entitled Phineas and Ferb, and they're bringing in a special person to write at least one upcoming episode. Phineas and Ferb is something that I've never paid attention to, but now that they've got this, I might have to check it out.
The cool thing about Phineas and Ferb, my nephews liked it, so I sort of watched it. But the great thing about it is the kids, there's plenty of stuff there for the kids, but just about every episode has at least one, if not multiple, references to pop culture that a grown-up would know.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're going to bring Damon Lindelof, formerly of Lost, to do a Lost-themed episode.
With
Just
a polar
one?
bear?
Just one? Only one?
Yeah, right
I mean,
now.
can't we make it more than
It's
one?
going to be called Lost in Danville, and it's going to air on September the 29th.
Come on, we got to make it more than one.
So that
There's
would
got to be that poll.
a month from today, actually.
All right, I'll be checking that out. And we talked about The Simpsons earlier. They got a crossover with Family Guy. I've been out of The Simpsons for a while. I may have to go back in and check it out. One more note here on television. Jeff, and for a while now, we've been talking about Marvel expanding their universe on television beyond Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Apparently, they've got not just one, but a few series that they're planning on releasing through Netflix, and you've seen some news on that front.
Right. Well, right now, they're already filming on the new Daredevil series, which they said will be even a bit more dark and gritty. Comic book movie film's favorite buzzword right now than the Ben Affleck film. But they're also working on a Jessica Jones, a Power Man, an Iron Fist. Basically, these sort of street level heroes that will eventually probably merge into a team called the Defenders, which are sort of like street level Avengers. These disparate heroes that basically team up to take on some serious threats.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see. We'll have to figure it out. Quick rundown of what's going on in the Summer Movie League. And, Jeff, you're just, you're out there, man. $845.7 million in first place to Jacob's second place of $742.9. So you've got $100 million on second place, my friend.
Guardians are still chugging along, though, man.
That it is. Josh in at third, $712.2 million. I'm in fourth, $647.6, and 3 of my movies are officially out of there, so I'm done. The other 2, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and The Purge Anarchy, are out of the top 10. Number 5 is David, $369.7 million. Ryan, you're bringing up the rear at $348.3 million. Sin City, you need to start picking up the pace here, bud.
Yeah, go see the movie, guys. Go see the movie.
Ryan, where can we find you online,
It's a 10 out of 10.
Facebook at Ryan Matthews or on Twitter at RyanRPM5.
Have a fantastic Labor Day weekend, Ryan. We appreciate it. Jeff?
No problem. You guys do the same. Thanks for having me on the show. You guys take care and don't work too hard.
We'll do it. Jeff, you have a happy Labor Day weekend as well.
You too, buddy.